So make sure the sound is.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and online. We are going to talk a little bit about our Thematic Lab program and then also about the RFP that just came out. I am Drew Casey. I'm the Associate Director at the Texas A&M Institute of Data Science. We have our Director here, Dr. Nick Duffield, and we'll go over a few different details. Dr. Duffield, are you on the Zoom? Just in case anyone chats.
I have some.
Yep, okay. And then, so for those online, feel free to type in the chat if you are having any difficulty or any questions. As I said, we're going to talk about the Thematic Lab program and our 2025 request for proposals. A little bit about the institutes. Our main mission is to lead and support the growth of AI, machine learning, and other strategic areas of data science. And we accomplish this through core activities, education, research, and service, and then also our partnerships, both internally and externally. We have partnerships with national research labs, corporations, research centers, and individuals across the world and country. And then we also have collaborations throughout the university, and then also with our sister agencies and other institutions in Texas. We do a lot at the Institute. If you're not familiar with all the activities that we have, we reach both education and research. We coordinate the Masters of Data Science program. We have capstones, certificate programs. And then we also do a lot of informal training and education with workshops, boot camps, a weekly seminar series. And one of our key components for research is our Thematic Lab program. We have 7 current labs with 65 members. And beyond that, we have our research affiliate network of over 200 researchers here at the university. And then we engage with students across the university and provide support in numerous ways. So a little bit about our Thematic Labs program. I mentioned earlier we have 7 thematic labs currently running. You can see on the screen, they each tackle a different thematic area within data science. And some of this is in application like our agricultural smart data lab. These are independent research groups that work underneath the TANDIS community umbrella that we help support and engage with, and they help drive a lot of our research initiatives and promote a lot of our engagement, not only with the research community, but also with students through their own individual activities. We like that these labs also push and position us to be leaders in cutting edge research and are one of the ways that we engage externally with researchers through future collaborations and setting up forward future proposals and research development. So the Thematic Labs program, the general aim is to support that cutting edge research. This 2025 solicitation is focused on AI foundations, its applications, and transitions into specific domains. That is a broad category, a broad focus, but again, it can incorporate a lot of different elements. But the main thrust of it is that we want to elevate and advance AI research in some capacity that be foundational or in its application. Our current thematic labs are wonderful. They help broaden our communities, bringing in other researchers, other disciplines and domains into the data science community. They help connect us with our research subject matter experts, and it's one of the ways that I get to engage students and interested educators in cutting edge research, helping translate research into education curriculum development. Okay. There are 4 main areas in which a thematic lab helps okay. These are the 4 main areas that our thematic labs operate, and they help facilitate the different components of what a lab entails. It's not just a project, it's not just a single one-off. It's meant to develop a resource and a community around that research. So proposals for new thematic labs start off with 2 funded pilot research projects. These projects are then supported through the Institute, and then they are meant to facilitate future research development and opportunities through disseminating the outcomes of these pilot projects, then increasing the capacity of research capacity or activities within the university, and then broadening our engagement. So it's somewhat of a step process. To facilitate these activities, Candidates provides financial support through the 2 pilot projects. We also provide stipends for the lab director to facilitate and coordinate and operate the lab, and then stipends to split amongst the other core members of the lab. On top of that, we provide full-time support for a postdoctoral researcher that can either be someone from within the university or post a position that we hire from for an external applicant. In tandem with that, we have the administrative support of TAMIS. And so TAMIS, like I mentioned earlier, does a lot of different activities. We have a lot of programs. We provide those programs and support for the thematic labs. And this includes setting up workshops and helping coordinate travel with external researchers or collaborators, proposal development, marketing, and communication support. We continue to engage with our thematic labs actively, even after the initial funding period. We're going to then talk a little bit about requirements for the labs, starting off with members. The core team of the lab should be between 4 and 6 researchers. The idea is that this will be a multidisciplinary team that brings in subject matter experts in multiple fields to combine to support the 2 pilot projects. This includes the lab director. So if you're thinking about developing a proposal, reach out to your potential collaborators as soon as possible to get that core team. The team members can be from any of our departments, colleges within the university, and this includes Galveston and affiliate campuses, and then also like the Health Science Center. If you have any questions about your particular department, or associated facility or institution, you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we can help you with that. In addition, individuals, researchers from TEAS, TEACS, AgriLife, and TTI are also welcome to participate and become core members. They must be PI eligible for a member, and then for the lab director, they should be a tenure track or an equivalent. So current tenure or tenure track faculty member, an equivalent position in AgriLife, PTI, or TEAS. Good. When you're developing the proposal, we're looking that you target these research or these impact criteria. Most importantly, research. We want you to elaborate on how your lab will advance and innovate in foundational or frontier areas. Why that research is strategically important, either for state, national, or within the specific domain. Elaborate also on the challenges or issues that the lab's research is meant to address. We also want you to have a sustainable lab, not just something that keeps going for years and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we encourage you to think about large-scale proposals and extramural funding.
Actually, we require.
Well, yeah, we require it, and from multiple sources, diversify your funding sources, and how all of these activities align with the A&M resources, infrastructure, and knowledge that we already have, leveraging not just the Institute, but all the potential future collaborators and resources, infrastructures, and how that ecosystem, how you're expanding that ecosystem at the university. I mentioned earlier, we have 7 labs currently, and so we're encouraging proposals that broaden our scope and bring more people under the umbrella of data science and into our community. So we're encouraging proposals that don't have significant thematic overlap with the current lab or within current major programs here at the university. Now, members can be from our current labs, and you can have an amount of overlap, because I know some processes or methods might have multiple applications. For example, digital twins, we have a digital twin lab. You might be thinking about a digital twin application. As long as you can define and justify why this is a new, expanding, or innovative application, that a certain amount of overlap is acceptable. You want to elaborate on that?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. And then, as I was mentioning, we want this to continue. So sustainability is a major component of our thematic labs. We want you to be successful, and we want to have a long-term collaborative relationship. So we want you to emphasize how you will be a sustainable member of TAMIDS and maintain lab and advanced research activities post the initial 2-year allotment. Now, we do continue support, especially our administrative support. My team helps, our administrative team helps with organizing events, websites, helping with research collaborations, research development, well beyond the 2-year period. But we want the lab to pursue extramural funding post those 2 years, especially to help support the postdoc and other researchers within the lab. And then it's not just about funding, but also how you plan to continue engagement with the community. And community meaning not just within TAMIDS, but also our broader data science research community. So, presentation's not over yet, but I wanted to offer a link to the proposals in case you haven't seen it yet. We have all this information on our RFP documents on the website, including a a template that you can use to help structure your proposal. The deadline is April 21st, midnight. I recommend you don't test that 11:59 deadline. And if you have any questions or need any help, you can reach out to us. We'll be happy to engage with you. The announcements, the awards will be announced by May 19th with a start date of projected start date of September 1st for the labs. If awarded, we'll start with a kickoff meeting. We'll have a formalized operating agreement and begin the hiring process for the postdoc position. If a postdoc is not reasonable for your lab's work, there could be alternatives for that type of funding engagement. And then, like I said, we'll start September 1st. And then we have an annual review and meetings with Dr. Duffield, the director, and then the lab directors amongst all our labs. And then encourage you to continue engaging with us, especially to help with future proposal development. Any questions before I move on to kind of the nitty-gritty of the proposal format? Yes.
Will the slides available online?
Yes.
Also, have another two questions. So the most important deliverables for the team will be proposals for external funding, right?
Great question. So the first question was, will the slides be available online? Yes, we'll post all the slides online, and you'll have access to those through our webpage. Second question is the deliverables for the labs. Is it just external funding? No. There are specific deliverables for the 2 pilot projects. Deliverables also for the community engagement side of things, and that's also where I can definitely help labs with supporting those types of community engagement activities. And then, yes, funding, external future funding, but also just a continuation of the research activities and engagements.
I have another question.
Okay.
So the funding support, besides the 20K and the 5,000 and the 10K, in addition to that, you also have 2-year full-time support for a postdoc?
Yes, great question. So the question was about the actual details of the funding. There will be 2 years of postdoc support, in addition to the numbers listed on the support slide. The 20K, that's individual, 20K for the 2 projects, a total 40K per year, and 5K for lab director, and the 10K split amongst the other lab members, the other 4 to 5 or 3 to 5 lab members that are part of the core team.
So we encourage, so in order to prolong the role of the postdoc, then when the successful funding arises, so funding proposals arises, that builds on the postdoc work, then that postdoc effort for the postdoc should be supported through that proposal, but the funding is additive. So it doesn't substitute, we still guarantee that 2 years funding. So as an illustration, suppose you have a proposal funded which includes 1 year support for the postdoc. That means there's now 3 years total for the postdoc. It doesn't substitute our funding, it adds to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I also have 2 questions. So first, how many thematic labs will be awarded in this round?
So the question was, how many thematic labs are we looking to fund this cycle? We're up to 2 thematic labs for this cycle.
And the other question is, you mentioned that we need to have a large-scale proposal for external funding. how you define large scale? Is that like 1 million, 3 million, 25 million?
I think we're encouraging you to think big here, because, you know, this funding is meant to kind of seed and start bootstrap the generation of an ecosystem, which includes both research components and all the surrounding components, which we think are necessary for a large-scale proposal. We haven't come up with an individual figure, because we realize there's some variation from field to field as to what would be considered large in that field. But we encourage you certainly to think big.
Thank you.
You said that it has to be 4 to 6 members as a team. Could it be single PI or would it be multiple PI?
The question was, do we require 4 to 6 core members? Yes, minimum of 4 members, maximum of 6 members. This is meant to be a multidisciplinary, collaborative effort. So, while I'm sure there's a single researcher who is very brilliant and can do a lot of things, the idea is that we want you to bring in more people to help facilitate these 2 research projects. And this is just for the initial core team. The lab still can grow afterwards. We encourage you to add more members, but the 10K stipend for core members can't be split amongst additional future ed people.
So for the application, can you have your 4 to 6 core members, but already have additional people that are interested in participating?
Yes, so
You maybe want to come on to that when you go through the details. So we have I just wanted to come back to your question if we do that, which is, because we're aiming specifically at large efforts, large proposals, we don't imagine that would just involve 1 or 2 people. Typically these proposals build in a team, so it wouldn't make sense to have aim for a large proposal constant team. In terms of how big the team is, these numbers 4 and 6, where are they coming from? Well, I think that we're trying to get a trade-off between the idea that you need a set of people involved, but you want everybody to have a role. Sometimes we've seen in in some programs, what happens is there's a very large team which is meant to somehow cover bases, and we don't necessarily want to do that. We want everybody to have a specific role that's justified within the proposal and be an active participant.
So, we'll come back to answer your question a little bit more detailed. The proposal format and structure, I did mention there is a template online. It is, a Word document. You feel free to edit it. You do not have to use the template. It's 100% optional. But we do list in our Thematic Lab call, the RFP available on the website. There's a lot more detail about what we're looking for in each of these sections. I'm just going to go through them at a higher level, give you some recommendations, and help put some of these things into context. Doing good. So the cover page, this is where you'll list the core members, the usual details, name, title, department, including the lab role with the director. The lab role is how they will work and be essential to the operations of the lab and the research projects. And then a summary of the lab and its goals, objectives, and overall research thrust. And then you can list stakeholders. So stakeholders can be individuals or organizations in Texas A&M that you expect to either benefit or collaborate on future projects or even on the pilot projects that will not be part of the core team, but will still contribute to the success of the lab.
So I would say, one thing we mentioned in the call is that, after a lab is funded and established, you may want to acquire additional affiliate members beyond the core team. So individual stakeholders that are mentioned here, that can be a role for them as well to bring on in a formal sense. I guess you need to talk about letters from the stakeholders.
So that in the future. Then the second part will be the lab themes and impacts. You know, we want you to describe the thematic research area, including any potential overlap with our current research labs, and how this is advancing our goal of the focus of an AI foundation for applications in transition into specific domains. Then we also require you to articulate how the lab will achieve our impact criteria that I've outlined previously, the research, strategic funding, ecosystem, and alignment criteria, and then elaborate on the sustainability. We do recommend you target various funding sources. You know, not just NSF, there are potentials for NIH, federal, state, even private foundation research funding sources. They don't all have to be multi-million-dollar, but we do want you to be ambitious to advance the research capacity of the university.
So I comment on that. Obviously, you know, right now there are various uncertainties concerning funding sources, particularly from certain agencies. And so on the one hand, you know, considering multiple funding sources is a way to, you know, increase robustness with respect to that. You know, we are asking people to nominate specific programs that they would target. And so you might ask, well, what happens if that program goes away? What happens if the circumstances change? And we acknowledge, you know, that can be an issue. So, you know, if there needs to be a change in that for an awarded lab based on circumstances, you know, we can certainly discuss that. We're not going to tie people to, you know, committing to submit to a program which is no longer appropriate.
The university also has several research and development officers and teams around.
Pick the mics off.
Oh. The university also has research development officer teams around the university that can help with proposal development. So the TAMIS also has in-house research development opportunities and support. I think I'm running out of time. He's cutting off. So exactly. We're almost done. Next, pilot research projects. These are one-page documents outlining the. I'm going to steal yours. Or I'll just stand here. Power sources are best. So these are one-page documents to outline the specifics of the pilot project. And so you'll have 2 pilot projects. Think of them as mini proposals where you're outlining the problem, your approach, expected outcomes, and then how you'll spend the 20K allotments. You don't have to spend all of it, but up to 20K that is provided for those pilot projects each. Next, this is where you'll elaborate more on the team and the preparation and preparedness, the preliminary work that's already been done in this research area, and also what's you expect the postdoc to do for those pilot projects. And this can be, you can have somebody in mind already. We do require you to give 2-page resumes for all the lab members, and if you have a candidate for the postdoc position in mind, you have to provide that, or we can help you hire a new postdoc. And then highlight the unique strengths, and this goes into the role of the lab members. What are they bringing to the team, and if they are responsible for particular elements of the pilot projects.
So I got a couple of comments on these 2 slides. So certainly, given that we're looking for strong submissions, team building for large scale proposals. We're looking for people who can make a convincing case that they're a good person to do that as the lab director. So experience in that is going to be something we're looking for. In terms of the 2 pilot projects, the idea is that that they should fit coherently within the theme of the lab. They're not just 2 things, a couple of people doing independently. They should really build together to further the development of research in the ecosystem which the proposal aims to create.
In addition to the 2-page resumes for lab members, you're optionally can submit stakeholder letters from individuals or organizations that will collaborate or benefit from your work. And then we have a follow-up page that you can add whatever information you think is important for us to consider. This could be a annotated bibliography, additional graphics, whatever additional information helps the reviewers with your proposal. And this is a 1-page max.
So I got a couple of just drill down points on that as far as the stakeholder letters go. So as Drew mentioned, there are kind of two aspects to the stakeholders, or two types of stakeholders, two roles they can play. One of which is the ecosystem, which is the impact that the lab is having on other people. And the other is alignment, which is how you're using or aligning with furthering utilizing resources which are already there. And so I think a guideline is for that is, if it's a resource which is you're just using, and it's part of that resource's regular function, but they don't provide to anybody, that's not something you necessarily need a letter for, but it's good to state them as a stakeholder organization. If, on the other hand, you have a specific role for them in providing something for you which you're going to use, and they're a bit like a collaboration letter in NSF, then that would be appropriate to have a stakeholder letter from them. And likewise for the, so that's on the alignment side. And likewise on the ecosystem side, if people are going to sort of catch what you're doing and then use it in their work, and depending on whether, it's one of your products, and in terms of ecosystem, we're thinking, often you'll be thinking of knowledge and results that people can use. It may also be some kind of infrastructure that arises from this. And I use the word infrastructure in a very, very broad sense. It's not just physical infrastructure, but there may be something which people are going to use, and they think, oh, if you do that, that'll be great. I can use that. So that would be the sort of person who would be good to have a stakeholder letter from as well, so that it strengthens your case, not just saying, oh, people could use this. Somebody saying, oh, I will use that.
I have a question about that. Is the stakeholder must come from Texas and or it can come from outside institutes like national labs or private companies?
We're looking at Texas A&M.
If there are external stakeholders, so the question was, are the list of stakeholders just for internal Texas A&M? Yes, you're looking just at Texas A&M. As part of the research and strategic impact of your lab, that's when you can start listing things like specific industries would benefit from this, or national labs, or that's where your lab's alignment with the broader goals or needs of the community. Any other questions? Any questions online?
No questions that haven't already been answered.
So, can, other current thematic labs, members of those, could they be one of your core members?
Yeah, yes, they could. There's no restriction on that. But I mean, we do have this goal that there is, these are distinct efforts from what's already going on. So, if there were a case that there was significant overlap, it might look like there's actually significant overlap in the field as well. Now, it's not that that can't be justified. And if there is overlap of people and implicit overlap of interests, then that needs to be clarified in the proposal. You need to explain how it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably give a specific example. I mean, what I'm intending to do is a human performance thematic lab, but the focus is digital twin. The current thematic lab is very industrial based, not human biological based. But the expertise within the broader digital twin realm is very helpful for that thematic lab. I mean, I can frame it as a human performance, but the ultimate goal is digital twin.
No, I understand. Without kind of wanting to sort of, prejudge that particular idea, Justin, as Drew said, there can be a difference between maybe different axes. One axis can be, the technology in a certain area, and another axis could be how that technology is used. And if there's some intersection in there in personnel, I think that can be that's enabling, that potentially can be justified. A weaker way of establishing that connection would be in terms of stakeholders. So, so either of those could be possible in that situation, but depending on the level of engagement that would be envisaged and participation envisaged. But I think that's that's maybe a good hypothetical illustration of this general relationship between different labs and distinct approaches, kind of their intersection at the base of the axes, even though they go from different directions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a part of that thematic lab, and I find it very interesting, but it's like very different from what I do, except for the broader twin concepts. So, yeah. I don't even know if any of them would be interested. Anyways, you brought up the overlaps in the thematic twin, so I thought digital twin, so I thought I'd throw it out there as an example.
Yes, like Nick and I said, you recognize that overlap can exist when it's significant, or you have to justify how that overlap is different or will advance the research in that thematic area, without getting into specifics and drawing hard lines between what is and isn't significant. We leave it up to you in the justification. Great questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, that's answering one. So question, online, can team members be from the same department or do they have to be in different departments? So my answer is, if you look at the set of team member ad hocs, that must span at least 2 departments. So you couldn't have all members from the same department, the same ad hoc organization.
Yes, so different. Yes.
So when you say tenure track right here, does it mean assistant professor or tenure professor?
Yeah, tenure track is allowed. We're not excluding that. But I also refer to my previous answer that we're looking for also leadership, you know, somebody who's well positioned for leadership of large proposals, and that doesn't exclude tenure track. That's what you said, you know, that's also what we.
That is for the directors only. The other core lab members just have to be PI eligible individuals. If you're wondering if you're someone's PI eligible, there are guidelines online and a link in the full RFP about that. Yes, the director takes on a higher level of coordination and management of the lab, and you're looking for someone with those significant established connections and say capabilities, but motivations. Well, if there's no follow-up questions, you know, we'll be here, but please take a cookie on your way out, and the deadline is April 21st. My contact information, business cards are outside on the desk and online at this link. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us. And we look forward to reading your proposals. Thank you.